illogical Star Trek podcast.
Well, hello, Archie.
And hello, Stevie. We're back.
We are back for the final...
Yes.
Are you going to do that?
No. I was going to say the same thing. No, it's great. No, you do it.
We are back for the final episode of Star Trek Discovery, Season 4. Hello and welcome to you all.
I'm so sad that it's over.
I know. I'm so sorry.
Fortunately,
It's not like we don't have
saying
any
the same
track.
thing. God, we're talking so much.
We are.
We're saying the same words over each other.
We're like that.
We're like right here, right here. Exactly. We have so much Trek. We're about to have too much Trek.
Well, we already have too much Trek. We have too much work.
So much, too much Trek. But, yes, welcome in, listeners, to the program. You are listening to Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast. Today we're discussing, as Stevie said, the season finale of Season 4 of Star Trek Discovery, entitled Coming Home. Now it's
Stardate 1413319.3.
And, well, this whole crazy thing with the Species 10C and the dark matter anomaly and Tarka and Book and, I don't know, everything is coming. It's just going to wrap up in this final episode, which was a little longer than most episodes, but entertaining. They tied all the bows together. Bows?
The ends? They tied up all the ends. The loose ends.
They tied up all the ends into a lovely bow.
Indeed. Well.
But before we get into it, we got to get a little business out of the way. Stevie, why don't you tell them about our Patreon?
Yeah, well, we have one, and that's always interesting to know. So please...
I fall for it every time.
Why that I'm used to. You spit out your coffee. Yes, we have a Patreon at patreon.com/setphasers, where you can access early episodes before they release the general public. You can see our lovely little faces when we record. You can see us live when we record. And you can also get to hang out with us with Zoom parties. We hang out together. And we also watch Star Trek together, which is that's my favorite thing. And I'm hanging out as well. So if you want to join us for all things Trek, behind-the-scenes access, and community things, you can go to patreon.com/setphasers, where you can find an array of different options to suit your needs.
Yes, and we hope they suit you quite well. Shall we run it down? Let's run this thing down.
Let's run it down.
For me, what just happened? Can you run it down for me?
Yes, well, we begin in the most unexpected of places. Tilly, who's instructing some cadets who are helping with the evacuation of Earth. Apparently Earth and Navarre are being evacuated because, as you may recall, the second DMA is headed in their direction. There's debris in like a sort of a vanguard of debris, and then the big blast radius will hit Earth and Navarre, and everyone's freaking out. So Tilly's got those students that she had on that mission earlier. Was that this season? God, it feels like 4,000 years ago. And they are jumping onto a ship, and they're going to be helping with that. There's 4 hours of the day. I already said all this. And when Admiral Vance is there, he's sort of overseeing it. There's all these ships outside of Earth trying to get people off. And they're like, how many people are we really going to be able to get off the planet in time? And Admiral Vance is like, listen, if we boogie hard and everything goes according to plan, maybe 450,000 people off of Earth, about the same on Navarre. And we shall see. So, Michael is back on Disco there on the outside of the galaxy. Yes, outside of the galaxy. They still haven't heard anything from 10C. And on Book's ship, Tarka's like, look, we're about to do this thing. I'm going to burn a thing into the controller, and then I get to go to the other place and everything. I'll send you guys to the ship and it'll be fine. Book tries to convince Tarka, like, hey, man, this is not the right thing to do. You're being blinded by your anger and your distress, but no dice. Tarka's been trying to do this for 10 years, and he will go home and he will find Oros, and that's the end of it. Meanwhile, a weird little ship gets jolted, and a tiny little bracelet or something falls down oops, my computer for notes. A tiny little bracelet falls on the floor, and I don't know what that means, but Book looks at it and goes, maybe we will get out of here. Meanwhile, on Disco, everyone's scrambling. Michael and Rilke are going to go talk to the delegates and tell them what's happened about Book's ship getting out and the thing with 10C not working. As they approach, Ndoye just steps up and says, hey, I'm the one who aided in their escape. I had to save Earth. We didn't know if you guys were going to make it back. Rilke and Michael tell her that, hey, well, you screwed up everything because we were talking to them and they probably would have gone along with our thing to pull everything back. But anyway, you can find the quarters. And Ndoye says, okay, that makes sense. Sure. But hey, listen, if you need me, I'm ready and willing to serve. They finally do get a message from the 10C. It's very cryptic. They're like, can you get us out of the orb? 10C's like, you're already free of the orb. We don't know what your deal is. They're trying to communicate the whole situation with Book, Tarka, the DMA, the controller, being not with them, even though I haven't shown up with them. It's too complicated for the hydrocarbon light show thing that they've thrown together in the last few hours to figure out. And so President Tarina, the Vulcan, volunteers to attempt to communicate with them telepathically. So she goes to the window. She mind melds with the window, does make contact. Everything goes red. She goes into like a weird like fugue state. She falls back from the window, like sort of almost passed out, and says the 10C are confused. They can't stop Book's ship, and they may not trust Disco anymore. And that's when we smash cut to our credits. We come back. Tarina's in sickbay. She says when she was connected to the 10C, she was not connected to one. She was connected to all of them, and they may not have an awareness of individual existence. Meanwhile, Stamets may have a way out of the orb. So Micah goes to deal with that. Saru stays by Tarina and sort of gives her a little talk about, hey, I used to think you couldn't be in a relationship and hold down your responsibilities at the same time, but I'm realizing, like, maybe I'm just hurting myself, baby. And then he goes away. Meanwhile, on Book's ship, Tarka's like, we're nearly there. Book is working on that little controller thingy, whatever it might be. The little, I thought it was a bracelet. I had no idea. Could have been like, what were those bracelets that people would wear to track their walking? What are those called?
A Fitbit?
Fitbit. It kind of looked like a futuristic Fitbit. Fitbit.
That's fair. Fitbit.
Yeah, Fitbit. Tarka comes over and he actually tries to convince Book. He's like, Book, I'm going to make this jump into this mirror universe. Why don't you come with me? Quajon will be there. Your friends and family will be there because this terrible thing won't have happened in that universe. He thinks. But Reno says, hey, no. Even though they may be there, they'll be different people. It will be a different time. It will be a facsimile of the life you lead here. And Book says, Reno's right. The people that we lost are gone, and we have to deal with that. That's part of the whole arc of this season, bro. Meanwhile, Stamets' plan. Basically, they need a ton of energy, like Book ship needed all that plasma to get out of the orb. They need a ton of energy. They only have one thing on the ship that can create that amount of energy. It's the spore drive, which normally turns it into momentum to send them along the mycelial network. But if they don't use it for momentum, they can send it directly into the membrane orb surrounding them and maybe blast themselves out the way that Book ship did. However, it would cause the spore drive to burn out completely. They wouldn't be able to fix it except for in a space dock, which would mean that Disco would have to get back on warp power from outside of the galaxy, which would take decades. But they all look around and either say, you know what? This is what we got to do. This is what we got to do. Meanwhile, Book is working on the thing, which we find out was Grudge's cat collar. A thing about hollows she didn't like, so it allowed her to like move through and affect hollows. And he's able to make a little cat door in the jail field so that he and Reno can get out.
It's quite handy, wasn't it?
It's quite handy. There's still no response from the 10C. They go to Black Alert. They do the jump, in air quotes. The EPS grid overloads, tons of explosions. Boom, 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 bang, bang, bang. Everyone thrown around, yada, yada, yada. Eventually, it works. And they're out of the little bubble. Impulse is up. Weapons and warp are going to take some time to go. But they're headed towards Book's ship to try and to stop him before he and Tarka take the thing and do the thing. The DMA controller. I'm not a physicist. So, they're trying to figure out what to do. Meanwhile, Book and Reno manage to get out. Book punches Tarka right in his face, knocks him right out. Yeah, nerd. And but they're locked out of Tarka's. He's like locked them out of the controls. They're unable to stop the thing from working. Book basically gives his badge to Reno and says, "Hey, you go get back aboard Disco, explain the situation. I'm going to stay here with Tarka and try to convince him to shut it down. And by the way, tell Michael that I love her." My notes app says, corrected loves to leaves. Tell Michael that he leaves her. Reno does zoop back. She's on the bridge. She explains the situation. She conveys the message. She goes to help with all the situation stuff. They're still trying to figure out how they're going to stop Book's ship. And Rillick suggests, hey, Ndoye is like a master of military tactics. She said she wanted to help. Let's go ask her. Back on Earth, or outside of Earth, the DMA debris shows up. It's almost time for everyone to get out of there. The president of Earth is still on Earth, helping with the evacuation and won't leave until everyone else is gone. So the ships that remain that are holding evacuees and taking on board are going to hold the line against the debris as long as possible. Meanwhile, on Discovery, Ndoye suggests, okay, if you can't do the track debris, maybe we send a shuttle there, just hit the ship, knock it completely out of alignment, and send it into the DMA to be destroyed. But because of all the interference and how complicated it is and all the gravimetric stress and other jargon, your ship's going to need a pilot. And Michael's like, we need a good pilot. They look at Detmer, and Detmer stands up and volunteers for this, what would be a suicide mission, possibly because OO is not sure that she's going to be able to get their transporter lock on them and get them back to the ship safely after the collision. We look at Detmer and we think, oh no, are we going to have to do a Faith of the Heart segment on today's show? I thought we were going to have to do it several times, but no, not for Detmer at least, because Ndoye says, you know what, I'll do it. I have experience flying, and, I did what I did, and it was wrong, and I feel like I should make up for it somehow. So, Detmer gets boomed to the old shut. Everyone, including yours truly, is relieved that Detmer's not going on the mission. And that she gives her badge to Michael and says, hey, if I don't get it back, give this to the president and tell her that I did everything I could. Meanwhile, back above Earth, Admiral and Tilly are on the ship that gets its propulsion destroyed by the debris. It's almost time for all the stuff to start hitting Earth. So Admiral Vance sends everyone off the ship, abandoned ship basically. He's going to stay behind and try to give them as much cover as possible as the other ships zip away, and other Earth people just try to give them more time. Tilly sends her cadets, says they did a great job. Those two cadets that were fighting before, but now they're best friends and they want to help people. It's so nice. And she decides she's going to stay with the Admiral in this last stand. Another suicide mission in the offing in order to save lives here in the season finale of Star Trek Discovery. Book manages to wake up Tarka on the ship. He asks him how to stop it. Tarka says he can't do it. Book says, listen, you gotta deal with it. Oros is gone. He's probably not in that other universe. This is what life is about. Love always ends in grief, but we can't let that make us harm other people. Come on, man. That's what Oros would do. And Tarka's like, you're right. If Oros was here, he would stop me. Why isn't he here to stop me? And then they have a quick little weep together, a little embrace there on the floor. And then Tarka's like, sorry. Hey, I used an inverted fractal Gangeldork Grongskindinsk to set this up, so I can't turn it off. There's no way to do it. And Book's like, dang. But then they get a proximity alert and they see that Oyo's shuttle is headed towards them. Ndoye's shuttle is headed towards them for a collision. Michael asks if she's ready. Ndoye's ship crashes into Book's. Boom, boom, bang, sort of a big time explosion. But Owo is able to get Ndoye and send her straight to sickbay. There are 2 life signs on Book's ship, but Owo is unable to get a transporter lock on them. Meanwhile, we go to the ship. Book and Tarka are waking up from passing out from the explosion. There's not enough power to beam them both back to Disco. Tarka transfers power from life support in order to send Book back. Book's like, I'm never going to leave you, bro. We are actually friends. And Tarka's like, bye-bye. And he sends him back. Then he picks up a thing. I forgot what the significance of that little thing was that he was holding. Oh, was that the weird transporter that was going to send him to Zyalise? I think that's what it was. Kyalise? Okay. Anyway, he looks on it lovingly as his ship crashes into the DMA controller and explodes. The people on Disco do get a faint signature of Book's transporter thing. They try to get him on the thing. He's like appearing on the bridge. It's heart-rending. It's like maybe he's gonna, but then his ship explodes and they lose the signal, and Michael is utterly devastated. And everyone on the bridge is like, oh, there was Book, and he did not survive. So now Michael's lost Book. And while they're grieving over that, they get another message from the 10C. Another orb is coming, and Michael has to pull herself together, and Disco has to re-enter the orb. Meanwhile, Tilly and Vance are on the ship, which is basically is getting beaten all to hell by the debris. The weapons are lost, so they can't even give cover anymore, but all the ships have gone away. So Admiral Vance is like, hey, I got these 2 flasks. What's up? Let's drink some whiskey from Risa. That was a gift to me from Tarka. And they sit there and they drink and they talk about life and how well they did and their regrets. And Tilly talks about having found her purpose and how happy she is with that. And Vance admits that he wished he had spent more time with his daughter. And Tilly says that she you loved her, and Vance is like, of course she did, but I wish I spent more time. And Tilly's like, I had a terrible relationship with my mother, and obviously I'm now 900 years in the future, but I always knew that she loved me, and that's what I'll remember. So that's sweet. Meanwhile, Discovery heads toward a huge structure on the 10C homeworld. There are thousands of life signs there. There's a new message from the 10C. They say, we now realize why you wanted to get out of the bubble, and we realize that you are not one. How many are you? But they're sending another transport. Michael's like, you know what? Everyone in the senior staff, let's get on this transport. You know what I'm talking about? I was thinking at this time, what are the lower decks people doing? They're probably freaking out or just cleaning stuff. They're like, another UPS conduit needs to be fixed. The delegates and the crew get into the orb. They enter the structure. They meet these giant 10C creatures that look exactly like we think they would. Essentially, if you've ever seen the movie Predator, when the predator has their helmet on but isn't invisible, they look like giant predator heads. I think that's a pretty good description.
Haven't seen it, cannot confirm nor deny.
But I can.
I thought they looked like
me.
Giant jellyfish.
I thought jellyfish was apt, but they had stuff coming out of the sides, and they had sort of like that sort of triangular pelvic shaped front piece. I don't know if they're.
It did look like some sort of creature from the deep.
Yeah, they definitely have tentacles. They definitely have a front part and a back part, and they project light. Let's see. The 10C repeat their earlier query, like, how many are you? Rillick explains that they're individuals. They're all individuals, but they're a whole. They're like a collective. They want things together, and they have to learn to work together. And there's so much that could unite them and the 10C. The 10C ask about the 2 that were on the ship, and Michael explains they were once part of the connected collective, but they separated. The 10C want to know why, and Michael explains that the DMA hurt Book and destroyed his planet, and so they were in pain. And the 10C asks if that's why they're there, and Rillick confirms. And Mike says, Mike. I keep calling her Mike in my head. It's like, hey, Mike, what's up? And Michael says the DMA destroyed Book's planet, and all his friends and family, and that's why they're there for the 10C, because they want to not have that happen again. The 10C respond, and Saru confirms, after a moment of tension, that they will move the DMA away. And Tilly and Vance, at the same time, see the DMA move away, and the debris field, I think, reverses. Instead of going to Earth, it just goes back out in space. The 10C, meanwhile, still feel Michael's sadness, and they want to understand why she feels this way, even though they've saved the planet. And Michael admits that one of the separated ones she mentioned before was one that she loved. Someone she loved deeply. And so then a sphere of light appears in the chamber, and there's Book. And he's like, huh? What happened? Where am I? I'm super confused. And there's a tearful reunion. And the 10C are like, hey, we intermitted his transporter. We didn't know who it was or what it was, but it seemed important because of when it happened. So we just held on to it in case it was important. And they say, hey, well, no, we won't use the DMA in inhabited space anymore. But Book's like, no, that's not good enough. You got to shut it off completely. It creates a toxic field wherever it goes. You can't mine people. But the 10C are like, if we don't have it, then we can't power our hyperfield, and we can't be safe from the scary things in the universe, like what destroyed our planet. The 10C are going through what Book went through writ large: microcosmic, inside out, mirrors, prisms. You see what I'm saying? Everything ties together. And that's when Book realizes it. He realizes, hey, you can't hide yourself behind a wall to protect yourself from the things that are going on out there. We all live in the same place, and there's going to be pain and there's going to be struggle. But if we work together and we try not to cause each other harm, then we can get through it as a collective, as a, if you will, community. Yeah, that's right. I paraphrased. I want to be your mayor. Okay, so the 10C consider that, and they're like, you know what? You're right. We're filled with sorrow and regret, and we're gonna change everything that we're doing. Meanwhile, by Earth, Tilly and Vance are drinking out of flasks, and they're like, hey, I think we did it. The crew of Disco gets back on Disco. Michael cancels that red alert. The 10C drop their hyperfield and become vulnerable to the world, but to experiences around them. They're no longer isolated from the universe. And a wormhole forms, one last wormhole from the DMA to bring Disco home. So it won't take them decades to get back. Disco arrives near Earth. Folks are having cocktails in the place that I'm going to keep calling 10 Forward until they give me an official name on it. Saru and Michael have a toast, having come a long way. Tilly and Michael are reunited. The Admiral and Vance, say, yeah, we did it. We were all in the right place that we needed to be to do the right thing at the right time. Saru goes to see Tarina standing at a viewport, and Tarina's like, I've been considering what you said to me earlier, and I used to think it was not possible to balance responsibility and personal relationships, but I think even though it would be hard, it is worth the effort and possible outcome for the right person. And Saru's like, yeah, and they hold hands. 17 exclamation points. Michael's in her ready room. Rillick arrives. Michael asks after Rillick's family. They're fine. Rillick says Michael's come a long way since the last time they were standing in the ready room alone. That's when they had the Kobayashi Maru conversation earlier on. And Rillick thought that Michael was not ready to take command of the Voyager, the new Spore drive. And she says, now, I think you would be ready to do it. I think you do deserve it. And Michael says, I still wouldn't take the job, President. And they're like, duh. Michael asks about Book. President Rillick is like, he did some bad things, but we believe that, the reason he did things is important to consider. And so his future will be determined by the Federation. Then we jump forward to Book talking to Michael alone in her quarters. They say he's about to be sent to a ship in 5 minutes. Basically, Book is going to be sent to help families that have to be what do you call it? Not reunited. They're being like displaced and have to be anyway, families that have been displaced by the DMA, helping them get to new places to live, whatever the word is for that. So he's not going to have the freedom of his ship, getting to run around, be a badass space druid courier, but he does get to help people and make up for the poor decisions that he made earlier in the season. Book apologizes to Michael because he realizes that as he was speaking to the 10C, he was telling them not to do the very thing that he was on the very verge of doing. And then Michael says she doesn't know how to say goodbye, and Book's like, we don't have to say goodbye. We can just say Quaconi Yi Kwan, baby. Quaconi Yi Kwan. It's basically a thing we used to say at Kwajanum on the Hunters. It means like we've parted like 100 times and like may we meet again to part 100 more. You know what I'm saying, babe? And they say they love each other. They recount a story of, or at least Book recounts the story of when he first knew that he loved Michael on a cold planet when she was shivering. And she said they would be all right. And Book gives Michael his coat and then is beamed, unceremoniously, I might say, to the ship where he must head out to Europa to begin helping these displaced families. There's an epilogue. The 10C are cleaning up their subspace rifts. The crew gets some downtime, some much-needed downtime. You see the bridge crew is like, hey, we're going to go all meet and like do something crazy. I don't know, windsurfing or something insane because they're thrill seekers. Stamets and Hugh go on vacation. Vance is running around with his daughter and his wife. He's so happy. Saru and Tarina are cutting plants together, looking very serious, which is their version of fun, I suppose. Book is with Grudge on that transport out to Europa. There are new worlds joining the Federation. The last of which is United Earth. And the president of Earth is coming up to talk to the president of the Federation. And the door is open to reveal... Dun, dun, dun. Okay, turns out that might have been too dramatic for this reveal. But, I mean, the door's open to reveal...
Maybe not quite that one.
Yeah, we don't have a good option for this, huh? To reveal Stacey Abrams, one of America's foremost Star Trek nerds and political good doers. She's playing the president of the United Earth, and she steps up and really looks like, I look forward to our negotiations. And she's like, hey, no negotiations needed. Earth is ready to join the Federation post haste. Let's make it happen, effective immediately. And then she's like, hey, Captain, can I have a word? And they go and they look out of the shuttle bay. And she's like, how did you feel? And Michael's like, I feel pretty good. There's still a lot of work to do. And Stacey Abrams' character, who I'm sure has a name, but will always be Stacey Abrams' character to me, says, are you ready to do all that work? And Michael says, yes. And she says, all right, well, let's do it. And they walk back to the group. And there's a big pullback from Discovery, back from the other ships, back from the atmosphere, back to that pale blue dot. As Carl Sagan once said, floating in space. Our planet, our home, Earth. And here endeth Season 4, Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, you want to?
Oh, those are good. Let's do a quick chat about that.
Yes, let's do.
All right, first we're going to talk about the big time cameo. It was so super cool. I think I might have heard somebody. It might have been spoiled for me before I got the chance to see it, but I didn't remember it being spoiled.
I think I texted you and said, "Have you seen it?" Because I did not want to spoil it for you, but I was desperate to talk to you about it.
No, yeah, of course. I worked all day Thursday and Friday morning, so I didn't get to see this until last night. And then this morning in the laundromat. Yeah, when I saw it last night, I was like, is that Stacey Abrams? Oh, yeah. Oh, of course it's Stacey. Yeah. Anyway, it was great. I think we all know, at least you and I, Steve, we know that Stacey Abrams is a big Trekkie fan from any interview she's done and stuff like that. Anyway, it was super cool. It's every Trekkie's dream to show up and be an ambassador or president or a captain or something like that.
President of Earth? How cool.
President of Earth. Couldn't pick a better person, far in my estimation. I'd be happy if the United President of Earth was Stacey Abrams.
Mm-hmm. And she got to, she wasn't just sort of a cameo. It was, she even had a few lines.
She did have a few lines. She tells Ndoye, it's like, hey, I see you. I'm glad you got back. And she's like, I hope that'll be the last close call for a while. Yeah, she has some lines. She did her stuff. She knows Star Trek. She knew what she had to do. Show up, be a visiting dignitary, do what you do. It was great. I really enjoyed it. What else?
The Jellyfish 10C. Was that?
The Jellyfish 10C.
What did you think we were going to see? Was it that?
I mean, I kind of knew they were going to be big tentacle monsters because of that. The third to last, the antepenultimate episode where they went to that planet. But it was cool, I guess, that they were giant, scary, terrifying things. I didn't know that they had a collective consciousness. That's kind of cool. They were equated to, sort of like when Tarina says that, they're like, oh, they're sort of like the Borg. And Tarina's like, yes, but also completely different.
Kind of, but not really. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tarka, dead or in Kailis?
Dead. Sorry.
No, I like to think he's in Kylie's with Gabrielle Lorca right now. Gabrielle? Yeah,
Gabrielle.
sure. I'm going to go with Gabrielle.
Okay.
I like to think Lorca and Tarka, whose names are very names, Lorca Tarka, are in Kylie's with Oros, and they're like, how are we going to take over all the universes? You know? Anyway. Yeah, I guess he's dead, but I don't know that he's dead. He could have made it through. He was holding that thing as they hit the controller, and he did calculate something on it.
Did he? Oh, maybe I
Yeah,
missed
he
that.
holds it up and like it deals with like a hollow pad in front of it. So I wonder if he was like, maybe this will work. A little last ditch effort. Just send me somewhere, baby. And it would be like Tarka to be like, you're right. Let me send you home. I've finally seen the error of my ways, and then still be like, actually, I'm going to this other. I'm going to this other universe. I don't know. I think he's out there
But
somewhere.
how could he have gone to the other universe? Because did he not get blown up before then?
We don't know what happened down there at the DMA controller.
No?
We just know there was an explosion. He's the
Okay.
same thing. He said the same thing happened with Oros, right? Didn't he say in that episode that like he was hiding in that cave, and there was just a huge power surge, and he came back and all those people were gone, and there was just that thing on the floor, the thing he was holding. Isn't that what happened?
Okay, sure. I mean, I don't think we're going to get that resolution.
Season
Ever?
6, Tarka. They go to
Okay.
Kylie's, save Tarka and Oros, fight off Lorca and his hordes of evil demon Vulcans, and save the multiverse.
Okay.
I called it. I called it here. I called it now. 2022. March. I know what season 6 is going to be.
Season 6 or season 5?
6. Season
Why
5
not
will be
5?
something else.
Okay.
You know, to let us be like, oh, I guess Tarka is dead.
Oh.
And then season 6 is going to start off like, oh, hey, we're just heading out to this routine. What? Ooh, subspace riff. Wow, where are we? Welcome to Kylie's. You know, and it's Tarka, and he's with Oros, and they're like, you must help us. There's an evil man with dark vision coming down from the mountain with his hordes. And they look up the mountain and they see Gabriel Lorca with a ship with a sun in the middle of it and a sword for some reason.
It's possible.
Get at me. Michelle Paradise, give me a call. I can do this all day. Let's break down a season. Okay,
You
that's all
should
I have to
totally
say.
tweet her or DM her.
No, that would be terrible. She doesn't need to hear my stupid ideas, but
She
I mean,
does.
she doesn't need to hear
Of
my.
course she does. Well, I have to hear them. Why shouldn't she?
Well, because you're my friend. It's your misfortune at last.
I know.
Anything else to chat about? I guess it ended nicely, and everyone is having book, you know, is kind of getting his comeuppance, but he's not in jail, so that's good.
It was nice to have Reno back and Tilly.
Oh yeah, it was nice to have
Nice to
Tilly
see
back.
that.
Do you think she's staying, or is she going to continue to just be a
I don't know.
not even recurring sort of guest star?
I don't know. I don't know what. Well, it's hard to say, but she certainly moved the character on.
Yes,
And I don't think I think coming back to Discovery would be a move backwards for the character. So kind of think not,
Yeah,
but hard to say.
but what? But what?
But
Okay.
what?
Anyway,
But
well, it was nice to have Tilly back.
yes.
Being
Shall we-
Tilly. Let's go to quotable moments.
Quotable moments. What'd you get?
I got so many. First of all, we got our Quaconi Yaquan, which is just
Mhm.
fun.
It was funner because he corrected her.
It was funner because he tried to correct her, and she said, no, I said it right.
I said it
first time."
right. Yeah.
Let's see. Like Book saying to the 10C, we all live in the same space. This is all there is. This is all
It's all
there is. I've got tons here. What do you got?
So I summarized mine to 2.
Good. Give us your nice
My
trim
2.
2.
I have come to believe that limits I place upon myself do not protect me, but dull the brightness of my days.
Oh, go ahead, Saru.
Look
Spit
at
that
that.
game. Spit that Kelpian game.
Oh, he gets some of the best lines.
He really does.
He deserves them too.
I knew that he was gearing up for a heavy line there. Because he was like, and I was like, oh, Saru's about to drop some knowledge. Like you went to college. And what was your second one?
Obviously, it was Jet Reno. I'm already making a cocktail, Bobcat.
Oh my God. And yes, Adira, Stamets, and Culber look at each other, and Culber's like, "That's a good nickname, I guess, for you. Pretty good nickname for him."
Yeah. I actually
Bobcat?
didn't feel they needed to follow up with that, and then the fact that they followed up, to me, it was just extra cheese.
I thought it was wonderful cheese.
Okay.
Yeah, their relation. I liked it. What can I say?
All right,
it's been
all
a
right.
hard season. It's been a lot of emotional, a lot of
All right.
tears, even in this episode.
That's good.
It was nice to have Reno call Stamets a bobcat and have everyone be confused, but also supportive. Let's see. To wrap things up, I would say I also loved that the 10C say, "We have caused great harm. We are filled with regret and sorrow. We will make this right." That was nice. And then finally, you know what? I didn't like her at the beginning of the season, and intermittently throughout, we had our beefs. But President Rillick come through in the end when she says, "What are we going to do with Book?" And she says, he did break a bunch of laws and do a lot of terrible things, but, quote, "reasons do matter. It's the only way justice can ever be just." All right, Prez.
Deep.
All right. And, well, I thought that was going to be the last one, but I did like when Reno early on said, Book was like, "How are we going to get out of this sticky situation?" And Reno said, "If I had some hot and sour soup, it wouldn't help us. I'm just hungry."
Yeah.
Because, she did that thing in the last episode with licorice. So we were all thinking, "Oh, hot and sour soup." She's like, "I could throw it against the..." No, she's just hungry. I guess we should... Is there any news?
There is some news. Let's
What?
move on to some news. Oh, I love a bit of news.
A bit of news.
Little bit of news. Not too much news, but a little bit. Strange New Worlds announces a new Captain Kirk.
Ooh, I saw this. I
Did
saw
you
this.
see?
I saw this, yes.
To be played by Paul Wesley. The OG Kirk, Mr. William Shatner himself, tweeted to Paul and said, "Keep my ship and crew safe, Captain. Congratulations." So the baton has been passed, sort of, again.
Baton.
Baton?
Yes.
Baton.
I think William Shatner has many batons.
He does.
He's
have many
passed them to
batons.
every Kirk.
How many Kirks have there been?
I think there's only been 3. To Kirk, what's
Shaming
his
Shatner,
tush,
Pine.
and this guy. Right? Is there a Kirk I'm missing?
No, I think you might be correct. Anyway, are you familiar with Star Trek wines?
I can't say as I am.
Well, Star Trek has released some new wines. They did come out a couple of years ago, but they've now released a new range of wine. I don't know how good it is, but it's rather expensive. It's like $50 a bottle.
Of
From-
course.
Of course, from Chateau Picard.
Oh.
And you can go to, and this is not an endorsement, StarTrekWines.com for Klingon blood wine, Cardassian Canar, and an Andorian Blue Special Reserve Chardonnay.
These are each $50?
Yes, they are.
God, you know what?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to take a $200 gig and get a bottle of each for us to do a comparative tasting episode.
Do you want to?
No? That seems like a
Can
great
we?
Patreon thing.
Okay,
Right?
because if we do, and if you get like a, the set, you get
Yeah.
a box, the Chateau Picard box that's literally like a prop for Chateau.
You should have mentioned that first.
I should have
Because
mentioned that,
now
I
it's
know.
got to happen.
Well,
Yeah.
if anyone wants to go in on it and you live in the New York area, please give us a ring.
We'll do a little wee tasting of Star Trek wines.
How fun
Canar.
would that be?
That's what I'm saying.
That
We
could
do
be like our
Canar.
next
We do
Patreon
blood
thing.
wine. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it could be great. Anyway,
Ah, yeah. All right.
the news. That was news to me. And
that
look
was
what the
fun.
news has brought us.
Look
Already
at
more
that.
joy. Yeah.
I know. See, why did we not do the news sooner?
I don't know.
I know. Well, anyway, that's all from the news. To a more Star Trekky.
I
news
was, but
thing,
I don't
but
know. That's way better.
It's fun. I enjoy it. I don't know where I pulled that from. Probably.
Well, I think it's time for next time.
It probably is.
Next time on Set Phasers.
Holy moly. Next time on Set Phasers, guess what, guys? I'm going to do this without burping this time. We're probably going to... Thank you.
I
We're
had one
probably going to get started. Thank you. On...
That wasn't on demand. It just happened to be good time.
Oh, so you say. But we're going to get started on season 2 of Star Trek Picard. It's already been out for 3 weeks, right? There's a third episode, which I haven't seen yet. It's already so insane. So we're going to get into Star Trek Picard, and then we probably aren't going to barely be wiping our hands with that before we start Strange New Worlds. So, because that's in May, I think, if I'm not mistaken, early May.
I
I
believe
think it's May 5th or something like that. May the 5th be with you. So, all right, Star Trek. I see what you're doing there. So anyway, much more set phasers to come this year, and we will be doing our best to cover it, whether we are at home or not at home at all for most of the summer, which will be really strange. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us for this as we read the end of season 4. I can't believe we've been doing this podcast for so long. We've done so many seasons of the show. If you like the program, you can listen. You can catch it every Monday wherever you get your podcast from, and feel free to subscribe if you want to.
Oh yeah, follow us. And if you want to become a Patreon, a patriotical Patreon.
What is this, Gilbert and Sullivan now?
I don't know.
I am the very model of a patriotic Patreon.
Oh, I love you. If you want to be a patron, you can join us at patreon.com/setphasers. Oh, goodness. And you know what? I'll just run through. Don't forget you can follow us on setphasers.com. Setphaserspodcast.com is our website. Our socials are Setphasers Podcast and Setphasers on Instagram and Facebook, respectively. Thank you so much.
Respectively, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And never forget, meme game strong. That's Stevie at the helm with the hashtags, making it all happen.
Doing my best. Well,
yes, indeed.
Until next time, I'm so excited about next time with Picard. It's so good. I am Stevie Mans.
And I am also super excited about Picard next time. It's super, super good and very, very intense and in a great way. And this has been Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Computer. End program.